Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Tales from the Tackle Zone Season 2. This is our series of Blood Bowl battle reports, and this is battle report number 31. It is the time for championships. Well, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now in the championship phase of our league. Today, our championship play is during the Old World Conference, so the two highest ranking teams with the highest league points, followed by the best win-loss records, are playing off for the Old World Conference Championships to see which of these teams will be going to the Blood Bowl. On the left-hand side is my little sister Shade with her team, the Champions of Death, or Shambling Undead team, while on the right is Iron Major, our terrain wizard, with his team, the Dwarf Giants of the Dwarves. Both these teams will be facing off against each other in a game of Blood Bowl to determine who will be going directly to represent the Old World Conference in the Blood Bowl. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we'll show you videos of both teams as well as the rosters. If you want to see exactly what my friends are bringing for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll. So before we start with the game, let's go ahead and talk about exactly how these two teams came about playing for the championship game for the Old World Conference. So as you can see here, here's a copy of the spreadsheet that we use in order to keep track of all the campaign data for all 6 teams in the Old World Conference. Pretty much what we did is we took a look at the total amount of league points that each team had, and this is how we basically did it. The team with the most league points, of course, obviously goes to first all the way to 6th place. In case of a tiebreaker, we go with the win-loss record. So whatever team has the most wins versus losses will then be the tiebreaker for that. And in case there's a second tiebreaker, we go with the number of touchdowns that was scored by that team. So as you can see, this is how the Old World Conference broke out. In first place was the Champions of Death of Shambling Undead for my little sister Shade. She ended with 4 wins, 1 loss. She has 13 touchdowns, 17 casualties, as well as 17 league points. And in second place was the Dwarf Giants of the Dwarves, played by my friend Iron Major, with 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 8 touchdowns, 13 casualties inflicted, as well as 15 league points. Now, my team settled right in the middle with the Scarcrack Snifflers. I was hoping to make it to the championships, but that's perfectly fine. These are my goblins. I ended up with 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, as well as 9 touchdowns. I put a lot of casualties, though, with 17 casualties and 14 league points. In fourth place was Nurgle's Rotters of the Chaos, chosen by my friend Dark Lord Mac. He had 2 wins, 3 losses, 0 draws, 8 touchdowns, 10 casualties, 9 league points, followed by 5th place the Reichland Reavers for my friend Sister Sarah with her human team. They had 2 wins, 3 losses, 0 draws, 7 touchdowns, 3 casualties, and 9 league points. And the very bottom of the league, in 6th place, was the Gouge Eye of the Orcs, played by my friend Brother Grimm. He had 0 wins, 5 losses, 0 draws, 6 touchdowns, 3 casualties, 8 inflicted, and 1 league point. So that's the reason why the Dwarf Giants and the Champions of Death are playing in this championship game. Now, whoever ends up winning this game, of course, will represent the Old World Conference as being the Old World Champion in the upcoming Blood Bowl. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the game. So let's go ahead and talk about the first half with the kickoff. As you can see, my little sister Shade has won the coin toss. She elected to receive the ball in the first half of the game, while my friend Iron Major will be defending on this one. As you can see, for both teams, my little sister Shade has a fan factor 8 on this one. She also has 2 bribes, as well as 3 rerolls and 2 players who are located in the reserves box. Now, as for my friend Iron Major, he has a fan factor of 6 on this one. At the same time, he also has Barrack Farblast, which is one of the star players in his reserve box. He's also got 3 rerolls as well. Now, to give you guys a little bit of heads up about these teams, my sister Shade is favored to win. She's got a league points of 15 team value of 1,500, while my friend Iron Major has got, I believe, 1,400 for his team value as well. So my little sister has a little bit more of an edge on this one. So let's talk about the kickoff real fast. So the ball did scatter over here. about 2 squares away from this ghoul back over here. And at the same time, the kickoff event was solid defense. So 6 members of the Dwarf Giants were able to move anywhere they want to do to reposition. As you can see, it looks like my friend Iron Major decides to go to full-blown blitz mode, going directly offensively on the line of scrimmage, getting ready to stack up and cause some pain, it looks like, for the most part. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the top of turn number 1 for my little sister Shade, and be right back after this. So we're back with the top of turn number 1 for my little sister Shade, and on the pitch, she managed to break through the line of scrimmage. As you can see, she immediately takes the offense on this one. Right here in the center field, as you can see, she managed to push back almost the entirety of the line of scrimmage and making their way to the second line of Slayers. What ended up happening is that player number 1, I believe his name is Aphid of the Sands, managed to knock out one of the Dwarf Slayers. Player number 2, his name is Noran Zakaronson. So he is currently out of commission right now, and he's seeing stars and bars and Tweety birds as he's kind of like recovering from being knocked out. Meanwhile, at the same time, Bryce the Slice Campbell once again strikes again, throwing a blitz directly to blocker number 4, Throlun Fire and Finson. Managed to put a serious hurt on him, and so he will be missing out his next game as well, as he cracks through his armor with that very powerful chainsaw of his as well. Meanwhile, he then moves. My sister Shade then moves up a couple of players to mark a couple of other dwarf players along the wide zones, and at the same time, her 2 ghouls manage to pick up the ball and make their way directly behind this mummy. Looks like what's going to happen is that Shade's going to concentrate up here, break up the line this way, and then run the ball all the way through directly to the end zone. But only time will tell to see if that play actually works. So that's going to do it for this turn. We go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for my friend Iron Major. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for my friend Iron Major and his dwarves, the Dwarf Giants. And my friend Iron Major goes on the offense on this one, managed to shove back a couple of players away back, slowly taking back the line of scrimmage as well. Probably the most dramatic thing is that this runner managed to put a power result directly onto Bryce the Slice Campbell, knocking him down, which is going to be valuable for them to prevent this guy from throwing another block or a blitz and slicing some right open with that chainsaw. Probably the most dramatic thing that took place is this Slayer player, Noran, I believe that's Noran Zakaronson, actually ran into the blitz action and directly pushed these mummies back, as well as ghouls, 2 spaces, at the same time shoving a couple of guys dangerously close to the out of bounds over here to the crowds at exactly the same time. So with the dramatic turn number 1 over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for my little sister Shade. I'll be right back after this. And that brings us directly to the top of turn number 2 for my little sister Shade. And as you can see here, on this pitch, she managed to break through and is making her way directly to the end zone. So this mummy player over here was probably the most important player on this play right here. Managed to shove back these Dwarf Slayer direct over here, which kind of widened this gap over here to allow these ghouls to step through. So because that Petsu the Shadow moves through over here, as you can see, Huachchai moves directly to over there, while Petsu the Shadows move directly over here, kind of spreading themselves out a little bit just in case if anyone wants to try to come after them. At the same time, this mummy uses multi-block ability to knock down a couple of guys over here, as well as this white managed to push this blitzer down over here. And at the same time, this skeleton warrior managed to knock over this guy, which allowed this white to kind of swoop around the back and kind of mark these players as well to give them disadvantage to try to leave the tackle zones. And that pretty much makes up turn number 2 for my little sister Shade. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of the turn for my friend Iron Major. And that brings us directly to the bottom of the turn for my friend Iron Major. It's a very short turn because, unfortunately for him, disaster strikes. So let's talk about what ended up happening. So first of all, he did manage to push back a couple of this white over here to try to get some freedom for these players to go through, but he didn't like his odds of actually having a Slayer escape from the blitz to try to run directly over there. Looking back, he realized he should have sent this player and the blitz because he was perfectly fine, but he didn't do that. He wanted to send his blitzer, Berlinson, down over here. Now, he tried to originally try to escape the tackle zone, but failed his first try, so he burned up one of his rerolls to reroll that agility test. Still failed it and actually got knocked down as well. My friend actually forgot to do this as well, but Berlinson actually had his armor cracked. He became a casualty, having a neck injury, so because he will miss out his next game and also loses 1 point to his agility as well. So disaster strikes for my friend Iron Major. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for my little sister, the Shade. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 3 for my little sister Shade, and touchdown number 1 for the Champions of Death. Petsu of the Shadows takes the ball and runs directly to the end zone, scoring a touchdown for the team, the very first one for the Old World Championships. Now, let's talk about what ended up happening during this play. So before my little sister Shade decided to go through with this, she decided to have Bryce the Slice Campbell throw a block directly into the dwarf player number 1, Othgrim Zakamirson. As you notice, he's not there anymore because the chainsaw cut right through his armor, and unfortunately for my friend Iron Major, ended up being killed as a result of that. So Othgrim Zakamirson is now dead. He is eliminated off the roster as well. At the same time, she also takes her mummy over here. This guy, the multi-block mummy, this guy's name is Sinru Nabotan. Throws a couple of blocks and managed to knock out another one of the dwarf players as well, one of the dwarf linemen. And she did that little bit of damage before she sent her guy forward to go through, so that way she caused as much destruction as possible for the dwarf team. So with that being said, now ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go, my friends, and re-rack their players. I'll be right back for the kickoff. So we're now back for the kickoff. As you can see, my sister Shade has taken up this kind of a wide screen defense. Most of our positional players over here in the back ranks to intercept any dwarves that run through. At the same time, there's a pretty strong line. And as for my friend Iron Major, he is down 3 players, but he is making the most of it. Has a really strong defensive line here on line of scrimmage. And he also brought Barrack Farblast to play in this drive as well. Now for the kickoff, the ball did scatter over here, and the kickoff event was quick snap, so D3 plus 3 players from the receiving team can move players 1 extra square. My friend Iron Major rolled up 4 players going forward, so he actually moved 2 of his linemen to give supporting assists against these mummies, as well as 1 of his blitzers, as well as Barrack Farblast to actually go move closer to the ball. So with that being said, we're going to go directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for my friend Iron Major, and we'll be right back after his turn activations. So we're back to the bottom of turn number 3 for my friend Iron Major, as well as the Dwarf Giants. And as you can see, he's taking the offense on this one, smashing right through the defense. Probably the most impressive thing was Noran Zakaronson. There we go, the Slayer. Managed to put a knockout directly on the bottom, directly into the knockout box with a blitz out with a block action, which is actually quite successful. As you can see, my friend Iron Major just kind of stormed through the line of scrimmage, marking some players, some ghouls, as well as some zombies over here. Unfortunately, he's still kind of exposed in the white zone over here because no one to block him, but it takes a long time for this guy to sweep down over here. Meanwhile, this blitzer managed to push this white directly dangerously close to the out-of-bounds area. At the same time, Barrack Farblast managed to pick up the ball and run directly towards his wide zone. Looks like what he's going to try to do is that he's going to try to punch through this hole here, send guys directly to the win zone, and hopefully throw the ball in order to score a touchdown and tie up the game. And that pretty much makes up Iron Major's turn number 3 on this play. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for my little sister, the Shade. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 4 for my little sister Shade, and she managed to get possession of the ball again. So let's talk about this real quick. So Abaten, the white, manages to escape out of the tackle zone because this zombie managed to push this blitzer down 1 square. So because he skirts around the outside and makes his way directly to Barrack Farblast, managed to nail him, penetrate his armor, put a knockout result onto that star player, so he will not be participating for the rest of this drive. Now the ball does scatter and bounce right over here to this square, which pets through the shadow, then moves through directly from this position over here, skirts right through this hole, picks the ball, rushes for it twice, ends up over here. At the same time, he also, my friend, my little sister Shade also threw a block directly into Unmir Zach Mearson, I believe is the name of that Slayer. With Bryce the Slice Campbell, managed to stun him. At the same time, bring another ghoul as well as a white around the outside here to try and make this ball and try to run it directly towards the end zone. So that being said, that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 4 for my friend Iron Major. We'll be right back after this. With that, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 4 for my friend Iron Major, and some dramatic things have taken place on the pitch. Zach Zakaronson, the Dwarf Slayer, pulls a blitz action after managing to knock a couple zombies out of the way and runs directly and pets through the shadow with a power result. The ball did scatter 1 square over. Unfortunately for my friend Iron Major, though, he doesn't have very many players that he can send to go pick up the ball, so he does try to send this lineman to do so, but unfortunately fails his agility test. My friend Iron Major burned up one of his rerolls to try again and still failed the second time, so because that caused immediate turnover, we go directly to the top of turn number 5 for my little sister Shade. So we'll be right back after our turn 5 activations. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 5 for my friend, my little sister rather, Shade, and she comes back with a vengeance on this one. So let's talk what ended up happening. So Bryce the Slice Campbell does a blitz action from the top, goes directly into Zakaronson, and rushes for it once, cracks through his armor with a chainsaw, and also manages to knock him out as well. So he's currently in the knockout box alongside Barrack Farsight. Meanwhile, Eshafab, the right, he actually runs through, manages to pick up the ball, and rushes forward toward 2 squares, making his way directly to the end zone. At the same time, the line of scrimmage, my friend Iron Major lost a couple of guys who were just kind of knocked down for the most part, being knocked over like rolling pins. And that pretty much makes it the turn for my little sister Shade. So with that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 5 for my friend Iron Major. So that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 5 for my friend Iron Major. And unfortunately, most of his guys got knocked down, so he just sent the turn, standing up most of them. This lineman number here, lineman number 8, though, Does a brave attempt to escape out of this tackle zone and rush as fast as he can to try to catch up. Unfortunately, he's just too slow. He is a dwarf, so because of that, that's pretty much makes up my friend Iron Major's turn. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 6 for my friend, my little sister, Shade. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 6 for my little sister, Shade, and touchdown number 2 for the Champions of Death. So Amonton Opfe the White, who managed was in position of the ball, went all directly to the end zone and managed to score a second touchdown for my little sister Shade and her Champions of Death. But before she did that, though, she activated Bryce Slice Campbell before that move was made and did a blitz action directly into player number 6, Mogron Athenson. That was the lineman who bravely tried to go over here and try to intercept, cracked through his armor with a chainsaw, and also put a casualty on him with a badly hurt result. So just like that, 5 members of the Dwarf team are currently out of commission and in the penalty and the casualty box. So that being said, my friends will be right back as they re-rack their players. I'll be right back for kickoff. So we're now back for the kickoff. As you can see, both my friends have lined up. My little sister Shade is continuing on with her last screen attempt over here, putting up her troops along this way so that way she has a good line of defense against anybody that might break through. While my friend Iron Mage, he only has half his team left, so he pretty much goes for a hard flank deployment over here, as you can see, lining up over here to try to kind of smash through this flank over here and try to get his people through. Now, when the ball actually scattered, the ball ended up going right over here because they got changing weather. They still got perfect weather for Blood Bowl, so after the ball bounced around a couple of times, they'll end up in that square over there. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 6 from our friend Iron Major. We'll be right back after this. So that brings us directly to the bottom of turn number 6 for my friend Iron Major, and he did manage to punch through directly to the line of scrimmage. As you can see, his players managed to muscle the way through, smashing through Bryce the Slice Campbell over here and knocking him down with a power result, marking a couple of players and creating this corridor here for this Dwarf Slayer to try to slip right through and try to make his way directly to the end zone. So pretty cool level of playing right there for my friend Iron Major. So that being said, we're going to go directly to the top of turn number 7 for my little sister Shade. I'll be right back after this. So that takes us directly to the top of turn number 7 for my little sister Shade, and as you can see, she gained possession of the ball. So let's talk about what ended up happening. So this mummy over here, Seberu Nabotan, actually throws a blitz going directly from around the corner, smashing directly this Slayer who was in possession of the ball. Now the ball bounced over one square right over here. Now from there, of course, my little sister Shade threw a couple of blocks, a couple of pushes to push a couple of these players out of the way, and then send in Petsu the Shadow, the Ghoul, to kind of sweep through. Now Petsu the Shadow did pass its agility test to escape out of the tackle zone. This player swooped through, picked up the ball, and rushed for it twice, making their way directly towards the end zone. At the same time, the players are up in this wide zone area over here, swooped down in order to create like a little protective cage around him. And that pretty much makes up turn number 7 for my little sister Shade. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of the turn for my friend Iron Major. So that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 7 for Iron Major. And once again, another crazy play made by this lineman. He actually managed to escape from this tackle zone and blitz directly into Pets of the Shadow, knocking him out with a power result and dropping the ball over here. Now, unfortunately, Iron Major did try to take out Bryce the Slice Campbell with this Troll Slayer, but unfortunately, got a player down result. He has no more re-rolls in order to try to re-roll it, so because that caused immediate turnover. But at least, as far as Iron Major is concerned, his goal was to try to stop Shade from actually scoring a 3rd touchdown in this half. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 8 for my little sister Shade. We'll be right back after this. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 8 for my little sister Shade, and touchdown number 3 for the Champions of Death. So let's talk about what ended up happening. So first of all, Bryce the Slice Campbell managed to saw through another guy's armor and managed to put a guy in the casualty box as well, one of the Dwarf linemen. Same thing with this white over here, managed to pull a block and threw the guy directly into the audience. The audience, of course, beat this guy and threw through his armor. He ended up getting a casualty, getting a seriously hurt injury as well, so he's in the casualty box as well. Now from then, this mummy over here in Nabotan, he actually threw a blitz action directly into this lineman, pushing him over one square. And what that did is allowed for my friend, my little sister Shade, to actually do some creative maneuvering. So first of all, she sent in Huchai directly all the way directly to the end zone, using rushing, I believe is what she ended up doing, to make him directly, he's in the end zone. And then from there, Petsu the Shadow stands back up, swoops around, picks the ball, runs back his maximum allowance, throws the ball with a perfect 6. Huchai catches it with another perfect 6, and scoring touchdown number 3 for the Champions of Death. Now, at this point, my friend Iron Major pretty much concedes the game, and you really can't blame him. He's only got 1, 2, 3, 4 players left from his team. Everybody else is in the casualty box. Barrack Farsight got sent off because of secret weapons. So just like that, my friend Iron Major concedes the game for a victory for the Champions of Death. So it looks like the Champions of Death are the Old World Champions on this one, and they will be representing the Old World Conference in the Blood Bowl. So we're going to go directly to the after action report because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the After Action Report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. And this is the After Action Report for game number 31. This was the Old World Conference Championship game for our Blood Bowl League between the Dwarf Giants as well as the Shambling Undead. So in the end, my friend Iron Major lost this game with his team, the Dwarf Giants. So let's talk about what ended up happening for his injuries first. First of all, runner number 1, Othgren and Zach Mearson, end up being dead. So because of that, he is eliminated from the roster. While blitz number 3, Berlin and Barrison suffered a neck injury, suffering 1 to his agility score. So now he's agility 4 up. Then we have blocker number 4, Thronlund Fenrin Svensson. There we go. He was seriously hurt, so he'll miss his next game, but it doesn't really matter because of the end of the league. Now, blockers number 5 and 6, Gimgrond Skerrickson and Mogrond Thindenson. Both were badly hurt, so they made full recoveries, no problem. Blitz number 9, Fimmicrag Cadgundenson suffered a broken arm, so because he is -1 to his passing ability, so he's passing ability 5 up. And then blocker number 11, Carmen Berlinson, was seriously hurt as well, but since like before, it's the end of the season, so it doesn't really matter. He'll be able to play in his next game as well. Now, unfortunately for my friend Iron Major, nobody advanced at this time, and for his dedicated fans, he actually has no losses. He keeps his dedicated fans at 4, so good job to him. Now, he managed to scrounge up 30,000 gold pieces from the winnings, but he had to give it up to the Champions of Death for conceding the game. He didn't recruit anybody at this time or purchase any inducements. He did earn 1 league point from scoring no touchdowns, which gave him a grand total of 16 league points in total. His final record for this season now is at 3 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw, and his team value ends up being 1,270 points. So let's move on to the champions of the Old World Conference, which are aptly named the Champions of Death. For Shade, she suffered no injuries in this game, and for advancements, 4 members of her team leveled up. Ghoul Runner number 3, Petsu the Shadow, chose the block skill, increasing his gold value by 20,000 gold pieces. Ghoul Runner number 4, Hutchai, rolled the tackle skill, increasing his value by 10,000 gold pieces. White Blitzer number 6, Amatan Afe, chose the guard skill and increased his value by 20,000 gold pieces. And Skeleton number 9, Neath, chose the block skill and also increased his value by 20,000 gold pieces as well. Now for dedicated fans, there was no change, so they're still at 5 dedicated fans. From the winnings on this one, my sister Shade drummed up 70,000 gold pieces from winning the game and earned an additional 30,000 gold pieces from the Dwarf Giants, who gave it to her for forfeit for conceding the game, giving her a grand total of 100,000 gold pieces in total. With those 100,000 gold pieces, she didn't recruit anybody, but she purchased a 3rd bribe for her team, so that way she can keep Bryce the Slice Campbell in the team for as long as possible, because as we all seen, that chainsaw has been causing all kinds of damage for my sister. Now, for her league points, she earns 3 points for winning the game, as well as 1 league point for inducing 7 casualties on the Dwarf Giants, and also another league point for scoring 3 touchdowns, which gives her a grand total of 22 league points in total. Her final record now is at 5 wins and 1 loss, and her team value now is at 1,710 points. So in the end, the Old World Conference is now officially over with. As you can see, in first place are the Champions of Death, followed by the Dwarf Giants, the Scarcrag Snivellers, Nurgle's Rotters, the Reichland Reavers, as well as the Gouged Eye. This was a very fun conference to actually play in for Blood Bowl. I played Goblins on this one, so I had a blast playing all my different friends and taking on the very different teams that we've had. Like I said before, it's been a long time dream for my gaming group and I to actually do a full league of Blood Bowl, and to have all 12 teams participate in the 2 conferences was a dream come true for us. We had an absolute blast playing these games against one another as well. Now, without a doubt, we made a ton of rule errors. We do apologize for all the rule errors that we made throughout the season. We're new at Blood Bowl. We're not really all that familiar with Blood Bowl too much. We're really good at Necromunda as well as Warhammer, but Blood Bowl is kind of new for us, so we made a lot of mistakes. Like, for example, the concession rules, like if you can see the game, the winnings go to the other players and you double up on your MVPs, that sort of thing. So we do apologize if we made a lot of errors in that, but you know, we're still learning how to play the game, and we had a lot of blast doing it. And if we made some rule errors, we continually made it the same way. That makes sense. We were consistent in our rule errors, so it wasn't that bad. But still, it was an absolute fun blast to play in the Old World Conference. And so in the end, the Champions of Death will represent the Old World Conference in the upcoming Blood Bowl. My friends will have to figure out who's going to win the New World Conference, and then from there, the Champions of Death will take on the New World Conference champions, and they'll face down once and for all in the Blood Bowl to see who and all rules over these 12 teams. So that's good for this, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.